Hi everyone, welcome to Hillside Wealth Management's YouTube page. We're super excited to be back with another company video. Today, we are going to be talking about Alimentation Couche-Tard. So when we go through these company videos, we're looking to answer 5 questions. What does it do? How long has it been around for? Why do we like it? What are the risks involved? And something funny about the company. So I'm going to pass it off to our 2 CFAs who are joining us today. What does Alimentation Couche-Tard do?
So Alimentation Couche-Tard, which is a Quebec-based company, is the number 2 convenience store operator in the world. So they are behind 7-Eleven, and they have operations all across North America, Europe, and now more so in Asia.
Fantastic. How long has it been around for?
So they've been around since I believe it's either 1980 or 1982 when Alain Bouchard opened the first convenience store in Quebec City. Actually, I think it was Laval, or Lévis, I should say. So yeah, they've been around for 4 decades.
So one thing I can add is although the company is number 2 globally, but I mean in terms of business model, it's really operating convenience store, right? So convenience store is all about setting time and convenience in a local geographic area, right? So across many local markets in Europe and in Canada and the United States, they are number 1, right? which is why we like them.
Okay, and what I find interesting about Alimentation Couche-Tard, it's one of our 3 Canadian companies that we own in the model portfolio right now. So it speaks volumes to the conviction that we have in Alimentation Couche-Tard. So what else makes their business so attractive for us?
Well, I mean, on a number of levels. Number 1, it is founder owned. It's not founder run anymore, but it is founder owned. So there has been that sort of that culture of ownership that has permeated through the business over the last 40 years. They are exceptional operators, so they will show us things like, for example, their management costs as a percentage of revenues, which is kind of an interesting chart, and that's sort of been trending down over time. So they're quite proud of the fact that they are lean and mean and running things in a frugal manner. They still, even though I think it's a $70 billion market cap today, they still think of themselves as a family business and operate in that way. But really, if I had to answer it in short term, it would be that they are exceptional operators. Okay. So the business that they run, just really, really efficient and doing a great job there. And then on top of that, they've also allocated capital really well over the long term. Generally, that has been in the form of acquisitions, so they're very disciplined acquirers. But more recently, that's also been a little bit of a dividend and also buying back. So they're doing these things intelligently at times that we think make sense.
And the fact that we own a retail operation in our portfolio speaks volumes too, because as we've talked about before, we're not huge fans, generally speaking, of the retail space.
Yeah, so especially me, I have to admit I'm not a fan of the space, but as indicated earlier, so the C-store business model is all about selling time and convenience. That's one thing. And another thing, if we check the mix of the business, the mix of the product category that they sell in the C-store, so majority of the volume coming from those products like beverage, energy drink, or alcohol, or tobacco products, which are quite competitive, quite repetitive, despite how the economy is doing, right? So it adds to the predictability of the business model.
And when Steven says C-store, that's short for convenience store, just so we all know.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep,
Thank you.
So not being founder run, do you see that as a risk? And do you see any other potential risks that would, down the road make us not want to have Alimentation Couche-Tard in our portfolio?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there's 2 parts to that question. They used to have a dual class share structure, where the founding, I think the founding 4 were wanting to basically transfer the sort of the voting control to their offspring, and that's not really high quality governance, and they've now gone to the single share structure, so we were happy to see that. Secondly, when Alain Bouchard stepped down as the CEO, they brought in an American. So they brought in an American for a Quebecois based company, which is pretty hardcore, and really speaks volumes to the quality of the person that they have now in the seat, who's Brian Hanash. And he was, I believe, one of the CEOs, or he was high up in one of the companies that they acquired in the Midwest, and they brought him in. And you can imagine, so like there's, you know, some sort of funny stories that we might talk about here about how, you know, he would go to these retreats and they're singing like Quebecois songs in French, and this guy must have been thinking he had just like landed on Mars. But in the end, it's been a really great cultural fit. This guy is down to earth. He's, you know, focused on the right things, you know, has a very sort of salt of the earth type of quality to him. So I think, you know, it also speaks to the fact that they were willing to go outside, not only outside of Quebec, but also outside of Canada to find that next person to sort of continue on the culture. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting story in itself, how they've dealt with that transition.
I also would like to add that whenever we see a company that is not founder run, let's say, we look for their compensation structure. So one thing we like about the compensation at Couche-Tard is they tie somehow the management compensation to ROIC, to the return on invested capital,
Right.
which is very shareholder friendly.
So beyond not being founder run, what are some other risks that you see with Alimentation Couche-Tard?
Well, if we look at the industry, I think whenever there's some major transformation or technology innovation, I think long-term shareholders should be a little bit worried instead of excited. So in terms of the convenience store industry, one transformation is the new EV landscape. Right, and we understand the management has prepared the company for the ongoing transformation from traditional vehicle, gas-driven vehicle to EV, and they have been doing a lot of projects in Europe, try to not only mitigate the downside risk, but also try to harvest the upside a little bit from the transformation. But let's keep an eye on it and see how it goes.
And I mean, if you think about it as well, so when 40 years ago, when we went to go get gas, we would fill up with gas, then go inside and pay. Okay. Then when the pay at the pump thing, I mean, you think if you have a convenience store with a gas station attached to it, the pay at the pump thing probably was a big worry. Oh my gosh, now the customer can just pay at the pump. They don't need to come in and buy things that will save them time, let's say. So, you know, and they were able to sort of tap dance through that transition well. And what Stephen's alluding to is, I think 90% of new cars that are sold in Norway are EVs, and Couche-Tard has a very big presence there. They have charging stations at the convenience store. They've also been selling these charging stations that people can take at home. So, and they've been able to transition in a very EV heavy market quite well. So yeah, we think that they can continue to innovate and do well.
One positive sign we see in Norway is they have earned the top market share, I believe 25, 30 something within the EV charging space, which is very encouraging so far.
Great, great. So you're talking about funny stories. What's one of those funny stories that you can share?
Well, I think, Mike, you can answer this one because you might know it a bit better than me. But there was an article in the Globe and they talked about this. But why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, they were on a fishing trip in northern Quebec, I believe.
Yeah.
And I don't think they drink alcohol,
right,
as like on these retreats or in general.
Yeah.
Yet they sit around the campfire and they sing songs. And he was blown away at what he was asked to do and felt really uncomfortable, and then in the end he's really settled in and now totally understands why this is such a big part of there. So I found that quite interesting. Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow along.
Thank you.
Thanks.